what is it that you currently do now? Of course I know we all sign an NDA, so I can't give away specifics, but just generalizing, what is it that you do now, and how did you eventually, like, what was your journey like getting to the position that you are now doing now?
Okay, so currently I'm a forward deployed software engineer. I work at Palantir, and the current project I'm on, or the current team I'm on, works with the UK government.
Nice.
So the National Healthcare Service for the UK, and we're working on a bunch of stuff, mainly like COVID related stuff, and the actual work is classified, so I can't.
Nice.
But how I got here was essentially, so I grew up in Nigeria. Then
Okay. Hold on, are you Igbo tribe?
My mom is Igbo, my dad is
okay, Igbo. All right. Yeah, my stepfather's Igbo. Okay, I got you.
Interesting. So I grew up in Nigeria, and then I finished high school in South Africa. Then I did university in Germany. Then I worked a bit in Germany, then moved to the UK. Before Palantir, I was at SAP. And I guess like for me, my path was more of like the conventional route, going to university, getting that computer science degree, then getting a job after. And I would say that the path was, I think it's definitely feasible for like other people, and I would love to see like more Black people in tech.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, David. So being that you went the conventional route, what are some of the commonalities that you've seen in other engineers who made it throughout the non-conventional route? Like, what were some of the characteristics that you noticed about them that helped them kind of break through that glass ceiling and, come in through that back door, those side doors, and do really well in engineering, tech engineering?
I would say the most important thing is tenacity. If you want it and you persevere, because in the path, you're probably going to, like, anyone trying to break into it is going to face challenges. Maybe be it that they're beginner trying to learn how to code. Like, learning to code for most people is actually very difficult. I know brilliant engineers who told me when they first learned, they struggled, but they're crazy good now. So the struggling at the beginning doesn't really mean much. And for people who already code, it's just about thinking about where you want to be and kind of not giving up, knowing that whether you get rejected, you could reach out to people on LinkedIn, you could just push and know that, look, whatever it takes, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I'm glad you said that you said you know some of the most brilliant engineers and they still even struggle with certain coding tasks or projects, debugging all the time, and that's one of the things I try to get the BCE students to and members to grasp is that, you're never going to know it all, okay? Some of the brightest people have worked in tech, and still there's no one person that's just knows it all. You're never going to really truly master something to be the perfectionist. Like, there's no end to it, but you can get really proficient and good at it. It just takes constant exposure. It's not something that's going to be an overnight thing, a 1 week thing. And I always tell them that, especially when it comes to scripting knowledges, such as Linux, such as Docker, such as Java, I always tell them that, start off, learning as much as you can, exposing yourself to it, and get a few projects under your belt. But after you do that, man, it's just, go out there and apply and start to interview with jobs. And because most of the jobs are going to do a lot of your training while working, you're still going to be learning while working. When you how would you speak to that about someone who feels the pressure that, I just don't know it enough yet to be able to start interviewing and start applying for jobs and XYZ? What would be your advice?
I would say the best time to start is always now. In the sense that no one, I don't know anyone who gets a job and knows everything. Most people, I think there's an expectation, in when you join a company that like the first, I think it's 3 to 6 months, like it's the ramp-up phase where you're learning everything. And any company where like you're expected to know everything on day one is probably not where you want to work. like they're probably doing some sketchy stuff. Like I don't know, like and they'll probably like not care about they probably don't care about the employees. Like I would say that most companies I've seen, small, medium, large, because I have worked in like startups, medium companies, and really big companies. And I would say that like everywhere, like there was a ramp up period, and like people want to help you around. And something I realized is when like it's a difference you see, like when people with less experience join, like new grads, like they ask less questions because they're worried about looking stupid. But like when more experienced engineers join, they actually ask a lot of questions, like because like a lot of the problems you face are ambiguous and like you don't know, and like the more questions you ask and the clearer things are for you, the better you can execute.
That is awesome, man. That's great advice. So let me ask you this: like, what was one of the? And I'm gonna let Greg get in and ask some questions as well. But let me. I want to ask you this: what would you say was the toughest part for you breaking into the industry? Doing tech, software engineering, and what was something that was that? And then give me a scenario where, or a situation where things were actually surprisingly different from when you expected, but in a good way. So what was the toughest part? And then what was one thing that you thought was going to be very difficult and very hard, but that was actually pretty smooth?
Okay, so I would say the toughest part for me was I would say finding the initial internship / job, because like especially when you don't have any experience, like people look at your CV and you just get rejected. Like no one even wants to give you a chance. So I would say it's just persevering, sending your CV, and like, and it's that
when he says CV, he means resume. By the way,
that's an overseas thing.
Because David's in London, right?
Yeah, in London.
Right. Yeah. So like, my bad. Go ahead.
Your resume, and just like even just being willing to like take jobs at first that you probably may not be your dream goal job, may not be where you want to be. Like I had a friend who worked for like nonprofits, he basically for free when he was in college, to build his resume, and like now he's worked at Amazon, he's worked at like other top companies and stuff, and like he took those jobs at first because like he wanted the experience, and once you have that experience, so it's kind of like even if you do 2 months, 3 months, whatever, you put it in a resume, you're like, oh, I used this technology, I did this, like I can actually do this, and that even gives you more confidence. So, and the thing that like surprised me in a good way was that's actually not that hard starting. Like in the sense that like the ramp up period is intimidating, but if you talk to your colleagues, even like incredibly brilliant people, they will tell you that they struggled also. So like it's something everyone goes through. So like I guess like the expectation, everyone knows, okay, like no one expects you to come in knowing everything. I would say before my first job, I remember back then, like I was kind of intimidated because I was like, oh, maybe they will think I'm too stupid, maybe they'll think, but like you go in and like you see it's all good. Like,
No, I try to tell a lot of the BCE members that is that look, you go in, you're more hard on yourself than the actual job, and your coworkers will be hard on you. Because like you say, you're coming in fresh, new. They all know you're new. They've all been in your position. And in most cases, they all need you on the team anyway. So they want to help make you feel comfortable. So they want to assist you as much as you can, and just help the onboarding experience and just help you with any issues. I mean, you've kind of proven that you're already smart enough in the interview to actually be able to competent enough to do the job. So they're not looking for you to be a brainchild. They just want you to prove your work ethic, to prove that, okay, you're consistent, you show up, you do the task assigned, you don't have to have somebody always monitoring you, X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna ask you just one last question. I want Greg to jump in. What would you say if you were to look back and give your younger self advice on what different choice to make to kind of get you to where you currently are a little bit better, maybe a little bit more fluent of a journey, what would that key piece of advice be?
I would say one of my biggest lessons over the years is the power of compounding. Like in a sense that, and it doesn't just apply to your career, it applies to the gym, whatever. Like in a sense that if you do something a bit every single day, like even if you say, okay, like you want to get a job and you're like, okay, like I'm going to practice coding for 30 minutes a day. Okay, I'm going to do this stuff. That's not a hard goal. You could even start with 10 or 20 minutes. You could write hello world for all like the point is you're going to sit down consistently and do it. There's this compounding value because the more you do it, the more you know, and the faster you can do stuff. So let's say 30 minutes, what you're accomplished in 30 minutes now versus like 6 months versus a year is actually very different. And you'd actually be surprised that like while you're doing it, it feels like nothing is changing. Like it feels like 3 months later, you're like, am I even better? But like you are getting a lot better. And you see in a year, like things that looked difficult to you become obvious to you. And I would say it's just like it's the power of compounding is very powerful. So like I would say that doing something every day consistently is better than doing it once a week and like going really hard. Because one, you might burn out, two, you might forget, and the repetition is good for the brain.
No, that's beautiful advice, man. And I'm glad one more thing you said, I just want to make a statement. You said something earlier about I think it was your friend who's just taking on Amazon jobs and different jobs just to get the experience and exposure to technologies and be able to put them on their resume. In the States here in our culture, we call that finessing, and we we do that. And I teach that as well. It's like always take advantage of the opportunity, find the opportunity. I remember when I started I came in maybe making like 50, they gave my first offer 55,000 in a different state, and I had to work at the office, and like it was all a 2 weeks notice. And I packed everything, I drove across states, and I went and took the job. But it was like, and I worked, it was graveyard, it was a terrible shift, and it was everything. But the opportunity that it gave me to get to where I'm now, as a cloud instructor, like it's incredible. So it's like, you have to treat it like a business, like a hustle. You start off with one customer, you satisfy them, just to get your name out there, and then boom, you take off. So you have to treat these career moves with strategy. Everything isn't going to always be the big bag or, the great work conditions with all the perks and bonuses. No, you gotta work up to that. And I think we're in an age now where we're in an industry that's the rest of the industries are starting to really see the value in tech and invest in it. So it allows us to even move even faster in our career paths compared to other, career industries. So, but yeah, Greg, you got some questions for David? You want to get on?
Yeah. Nice to meet you, David. I'm glad you came on this discussion. I got a couple questions. I'm actually studying JavaScript right now. I'm probably going to be getting into the web. I'm probably going to start applying like in the summertime for more developer roles. But in March, I'm looking like more like HTML developer roles, since it's mostly HTML, CSS. So I guess I got a couple questions. So the first question is, what are some of the portfolio projects you put on your resume when you first started? Two, are you seeing a lot more coding questions, or is it more when I say coding questions, like data structure and algorithm questions, or are you just being asked like common programming questions, like what's a function, or what's a variable, those type of interview questions. And I guess the third question would be, what are some of the cloud certifications that you recommend for developers, just because all the computing resources is going to the cloud instead of on premise? What are some of the like certifications would you recommend developers, especially new developers, to get just to I guess make themselves look different? Because as you know, getting into the industry fresh out, you definitely want to stick out. So I'm just thinking, what are some of the certs I could probably get?
Okay. So firstly, the portfolio thing, do you mean like languages on your resume, or do you mean like projects?
More projects.
I'll say it doesn't really matter. Like anything that you build, like I would say that the idea of a project is to show initiative, that you can take initiative and you can do something. And preferably something interesting to you that you can actually talk about and you enjoy talking about. So I'll say for the interviewer, like they just want to see that, like, okay, this is someone who one can take initiative and can actually use their skills, because not everyone who codes is building projects. Like it shows that like you're someone who like is willing to like do stuff in your free time and like you're interested in. And so and interviews, I think it depends on the company. But I would say that in big tech, it's mainly algorithms and data structures. And of course, that system, the more higher the level, the more likely you are to encounter system design interviews. But I would say like mastering algorithms and data structures can get you like an incredibly high paying job. So like, I mean, like that's something that like people, I would say, overlook. Like I see like some people don't want to do it because they feel like it takes too much effort or it's too intimidating. But just start. Like what I always say is start with lead code easies. Go on lead code, rank it by acceptance rate, pick the stuff with the highest acceptance rate. It's going to be questions with if statements and stuff. Do that and just work your way up from there. And like it's like the more you push it, the more intimidating it looks. I would say just dive in and just do the questions and try and do what I talked about, consistency. Try and do a question every single day. Like that's, and on days you're tired, look for an easy question and do that. Like it's better than nothing. Like so you keep that consistency and you just keep going every single day. And maybe later you could ramp it up to 2 questions a day. It depends on how much time you have. But I always say that never start with a goal. Start with a goal that you know you can achieve. Because if it's too intimidating, let's say you say I want to do 7 questions a day. Some days you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, damn, like this is a lot of questions. like I'm not doing anything. But it's better to keep it simple, because that way you know that, okay, like it's just 1 question. You're going to tell yourself, you know what? I'm just going to do 1 question and be done with it. And so I would say I'll say that that's important. And the last question. So I know AWS has the certificates. I'm not too familiar with cloud certificates, but I'd say that honestly, it also depends on where you're applying to. But I'd say that like a lot of the big companies don't care as much about this. Like they care more about like the interview performance. Like that determines your level, that determines your compensation, that determines your what's it called? Your, if you get an offer, like it's literally like if you really kill the interviews, they will compensate you well. And they will give you like a good level.
Are you remote or are you on site?
I'm on site. I'm actually in office right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
But like we have the option, like, so it's not like you could either go, not go, like, yeah, but like I come sometimes.
Okay. Do you ever heard of this concept called overemployed?
Overemployed?
You ever heard of that concept? Where like people working like working 2 or 3 remote jobs at the same time?
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that.
Yeah, that's another finesse.
Yeah, I was gonna say I mean, I was just looking into it, and you know, you can work at a big tech company, or you can just work at a like 2 or 3 small medium-sized businesses. And
yeah, we don't want David to tell himself at work. Okay,
yeah, I'm not gonna say I work, but I'm just like, what's your opinion? Do you think as someone this is just an opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people gonna like you're gonna see that more often now, just because like development and like IT is such in the forefront of just being remote and having that flexibility and just automating everything to the point of like I'm really only doing like 2 to 3 hours of work and I'm still getting paid, and you know my employer, they don't need to know what I'm doing, like that type of deal. Like, do you think people are gonna start doing that more often, or you think it's just you think people are just gonna just try to keep going for higher total compensation? Because you know.
I think it depends on the person. Like that definitely, I would say what you're describing, the first type of person you describe is like the rest and vest and like the kind of stuff. Like you want that chill work-life balance. Yeah. And there are people who are pushing for higher compensation. I think it depends on the person. But the chase for higher compensation, I would say it doesn't end, because like there are people who you see like earning crazy salaries, and after like a month or so, they're like, okay, I need more, or two,
Yeah.
like the first 2 3
They already make $500,000. They like, yeah, I can make 600. I can make 700.
yeah, and lifestyle inflation, like you start eating at places you weren't eating at, you start driving so all of a sudden, like you feel broke, but you're like living like way
above your means still.
Yeah. You getting a BMW, you getting that 9 series.
Right.
BMW,
You pull up in the new
you got that Rolex, you got your Cardi's on, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You ball,
man. So let me ask you this, David. So what are some of the struggles that you're seeing with other Blacks who are trying to break into the industry, and trying to get their career off, and like what are some of the stumbling blocks that you see they're running into that's that you see just like, okay, this is a noticeable trend among our people, something that they're really dealing with?
I'd say it's been intimidated, because like I know many people who look like us in the industry, and two, like, let's be honest, like in the industry, they see a Black dude or a Black chick and they think, this person is probably not that smart or that good. Like they will not tell you this straight up, but this is how these people think. Like, and like
have you encountered that?
Not explicitly, but I'd say at times, like I've seen people, yeah, I have actually. I've seen people assume that, let's say I'm in a non-technical role. When I say I work in tech, they're like,
he must be in HR.
Yeah, he must be in HR.
Always say
Must
HR.
be in IT,
Yeah. And I've had that, and like even like one person in my company said they met someone at some conference, and like this person is very senior, and he's Black, and like they thought he was working in HR or whatever, and he's like, they're like, oh, weren't you the guy in HR? And he's like, it's not me. And the person kept saying, oh, it's you. And he's like, yo, like, I'm like at this level. And the person was like, oh, damn, like, and tried to apologize and stuff like that. But generally, yeah, you see stuff like that. And I'll say, as opposed to like being intimidated or being worried, you could use it as fuel. Like go in, show them that, look, I'm better than you guys. Or like, I can do whatever you guys can do. Like, I mean, like it's, and
nice.
I would say that is kind of feel like to say, okay, like I'm gonna use that to show you guys that, look, anything you can do, I can do, maybe even better. Like, and like, so that, and not being intimidated at first, because it's different. Like the culture is different, tech culture is different. It's very white, like it's very dominated by white people, and like it's the corporate world, but we can't change things if we don't break in. So we have to like get in.
No, I agree 100%. It's funny because it's like, me and Greg, I know you can relate to this, and David, I know you can